Hello, and welcome back to my journey from normal to Norway. Thursday night, so I'm back to talk with you again. And this is another one of those times where I didn't really have a plan super far in advance, so I kind of just thought, I'll see, what comes to me, what seems like something I would want to talk about here. And a few days ago, something did come up, so that worked out well. And it's something that I've kind of mentioned, I think, in a couple of the videos so far, and certainly something that I've dealt with in my life and thought a lot about in my life. But the way that it came at me this time was through an article that was sent to me about somebody I had never heard of before. As you can tell from the title, I'm going to be talking about perfectionism today, something that I have dealt with my whole life and something I'm sure that many of you have as well. So I hope that however this talk goes, that it's helpful to me and helpful to you. So we'll see. So yes, the article, it was about a guy named Loyal Carner. And I hadn't heard of him before. Maybe you haven't. But he's British, only 24 years old, and seems to be very talented in many ways. A musician, in cooking, and just all sorts of things. From this article, he sounds like the kind of person who has like a lot more hours in their day than I have. I'm sure that you've met some of those where it's just like, how are you getting everything done that you're getting done? How are you accomplishing everything you're accomplishing? How are you like going at life so hard when, I feel like I'm, moving through molasses. I think I actually said that at work yesterday, that I felt like I was moving through molasses. So he seems like a go-getter. And a pretty inspiring person, it seems. And actually, it was a particular quote by him in this article that really just sparked the idea in my brain of like, okay, this is what I want to talk about in the next video. So I'm going to go ahead and actually read that quote for you. He says, course I'm worried. I'm petrified. If I wasn't petrified, I wouldn't be working so hard. It might go right, it might go wrong, but it means at least I'm pushing myself or asking questions of myself. And I really, really liked that quote. It was just, again, a reminder. It's not a new idea to me, but sometimes you hear something in a new way, and it just hits you differently. And I think that's what this did for me. First of all, I was intrigued by the idea that he would be worried, that he would be petrified, because he seems to have every reason in the world to be confident and seems like a pretty confident person. So it was actually helpful to me to kind of read this, and I was like, oh, I can relate to that. He's a little more relatable to me. So anyway, I enjoyed that, and it just kind of got me thinking about how I really have dealt with perfectionism my whole life, and just what a detriment that's been to me, and how it has led me to get into that place of life paralysis, and just really not doing anything, because if you have a hope or a dream or an idea of something, but in order to even pursue it, need it to be perfect, and in your mind it's not going to be perfect, it's not going to work out, you just have this feeling, then you end up not doing it. And that sucks. That's so hurtful and harmful, to yourself and potentially to others, because who knows what impact you might have if you do take action, if you do pursue those hopes and dreams and ideas. So, this just kind of got me thinking and wanting to rededicate myself to this idea of just shoving perfectionism out of my life, of making that a thing that I don't do anymore, that I don't care about or pursue anymore. I kind of think about how he ended this quote with, it means at least I'm pushing myself or asking questions of myself. And that's something, I haven't always asked questions of myself. I certainly haven't always pushed myself. Definitely during those many years of life paralysis where I was just existing and not really living, not moving forward in my life, I wasn't pushing myself. Pushing myself seemed too scary, too overwhelming. The potential negative outcomes outweighed the tiny possibility in my mind, it seemed, of it potentially working out. So I just wouldn't do those things. I would choose to just kind of sit around and watch others live their life instead of living my own. So anyway, I think that's something that I want to push myself now. I want to see that as a positive thing. I want to see it as much less of a scary thing. Because again, that idea of, like he says, it might go right, it might go wrong. I mean, there seems to be other people that I observe who aren't threatened or scared by that idea, something that has seemed so monumental to me, of like, but if it doesn't work out, then it's a failure. You shouldn't have done it. Other people don't seem to see it that way, and that's pretty awesome. And I want to be more like those other people. Another thing I had heard fairly recently, I think a few weeks back, was the idea of the gap between your present reality and your future hopes and dreams. I think that's the way it goes. Something like that. This is me paraphrasing. That gap is not a failure. It's an opportunity for growth. And I think I've always seen that gap and approached it as a failure. The fact that, like, my life currently is not how I would want it to be means I've failed. And that's just not the case. It's an opportunity for growth. So I want to kind of take that, I don't know if stigma is the right word in this instance, but that's the one that came to mind. Take that stigma away from that idea for me, that I don't want to see the fact that my life isn't currently how exactly I would want it to be as a bad thing. I don't want to see that as a bad thing. I don't want to see growth as a scary thing or something that only comes about because you've messed up somehow. That needing to grow says something bad about you, says that you're wrong or a failure or not good enough or not enough in any way. And so that's a good challenge for me. Again, one of those kind of like foundational thinking things that I've had, 3 decades to think a certain way, that I want to overcome, that I want to shift, that I want to transition into a whole new and different way of thinking. So that's a pretty big challenge. It sounds like a big challenge when I say it out loud like that, but I think it's doable. I believe it's doable because I've seen plenty of people around me approach life that way. So I know that it's possible to approach life that way. And I choose to believe that it's possible for me to approach life that way. So I'm making that choice. Again, it's not going to be this like, oh, one time I made the choice and now I'm good forever. I think it's going to be a constant challenge to change that old way of thinking into the new way. But I think, and I hope the more that I do that, when I catch myself and kind of shift that thinking, the new way of thinking will become more and more normal and more my default. And eventually the old way of thinking will be no more. It'll be something of the past that doesn't loom over my head anymore. So that's I guess it for tonight, what I'm talking about, just perfectionism and how harmful the pursuit of perfectionism can be in your life, and how it's held me back so much in my life, and how I don't want it to anymore. And it doesn't have to have that power over me. I'm the one who's given it that power over me, and so I'm the one who's going to take it away. And instead, I'm going to give power to the idea of pushing myself and pursuing growth. And also loving that growth. I think that's a big part. Making it not such a bad thing, but a good thing, an exciting thing. That growth is something, good and exciting, the words I've already used, but something that I want in my life, something that I'm going to choose to pursue over other things. So yeah, I don't know. I this feels kind of random at this point, but I hope that me kind of putting this out there, as always, is something that is not just helpful to me, but helpful to you as well. That if you relate to any of this, that it might be a challenge and an inspiration for you as well, to kind of shift some of that thinking and to quit pursuing perfectionism and instead pursue growth. So yeah. Let's do that together. It's a lot easier to do things with somebody else than by yourself. So let's do that together. Down with perfectionism. I think that might be what I title this video. I haven't exactly decided. Anyway, it's getting long again. As I tend to do, I talk and talk and talk. Long-winded is what you could say, I guess. But anyway, I hope that this has been a good chat for you. I hope it's something that sticks with me for sure. I don't want to forget about this, and I hope it sticks with you as well. Maybe we'll check in about it at some point in the future. I don't know. Maybe that's a thing I'll do here. But yeah, I hope that you're still enjoying watching these videos and enjoying my channel. If you want to, go ahead and subscribe and like and comment, but especially, as I asked in the beginning, share. Please share my channel, share my videos with anybody and everybody in your life who you think could benefit from hearing it, from seeing this, who you think could relate at all. But yeah, that's it. I'll be back with you again Sunday night. Until then, I hope you have a wonderful end to your week, a great weekend, and I'll be back with you soon. Until then, until next time, Hada.